Welcome to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King, and the goal of this podcast is simple: to help you create an ecosystem of academic excellence. Through inspiring conversations, practical strategies, and actionable insights, we help educators, change makers, and leaders do one thing. We help you foster trust, collaboration, and provide you the resources to help you create schools and ecosystems that drive excellence, not just for the heck of it, but to ultimately help students thrive. Today, we have a guest that is a veteran educator, but somebody that is committed to transforming the lives of educators, students, and communities. This woman has over 25 years of experience, starting as a teacher, interventionist, staff development coach, assistant principal, turnaround principal, mentor principal, and leadership coach. Now, she may wear many hats professionally, but she is someone with a heart of service. And like we say here at the Culture Lab and on the Contagious Culture podcast, this woman has a knack with starting with heart. Miss Lisa Norwood, how are you?
I am well. How are you today?
I am absolutely phenomenal. I am really excited about this conversation. I've done much research on you, and I have some key questions. But before I get into my questions, could you introduce just who you are and what makes you and your model of approaching education different from the rest?
Wow. As you said, I'm Lisa Norwood. Many years of experience in education. Love the work and what we do as educators. And what makes me stand out is that I'm authentic. Like, I'm not afraid to ask the hard questions. I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves and do the work. Like, I know the catchphrase now is boots on the ground, but that's literally who I am and what I do. Even before the song came out. And
I know, I was going to ask if you had your fan, Ms. Norwood.
I do have a fan. I do. But even before all of that, like, I've always been the type of educator or leader that's not afraid to jump right in and do the work. One of the things I always shared with my staff, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I haven't already done or won't do right beside you.
Can we talk about authentic leadership for a second? I believe that vulnerability, transparency, and authenticity has always been missing in education. As a teacher, as a former dean of students, assistant principal, board member, as well as director of a school, I believe that is those three words were the reason why we couldn't build high-performing schools. Can you talk about the importance of authenticity in not just leadership from a title role, but just as a whole in education and why that's so important?
Absolutely. To me, authenticity is how you show up when the lights are on and when the lights are off. Who are you as a person? And if you're leading schools, if you're leading students in a classroom, they need to see who you really are. They need to know who you are at your core. And so if you can't show up authentically as yourself, being vulnerable, being transparent, communicating the good, the bad, and the ugly, are you really there to serve the people, or are you there to serve yourself?
How do we get comfortable with truly being okay with being ourselves and bringing those beautiful elements of all that we can bring to the table for our students and for our teams?
That's introspective work. Like, as a person, you have to be so self-reflective and okay with telling yourself and being true to yourself, like, this is not good. I need to pivot. I need to do something different. You have to have that conversation with yourself first before you can have it with other people. Again, I can't ask you, Kyle, to do something that I'm not willing to do myself or haven't already done. And so if I can't do it, if Lisa can't do it herself and model what that looks like and sounds like, I have no business asking you to do the same.
That's good. Can you talk to me, Lisa, about what that looks like, though? Like, can you talk to our listeners that's maybe that first year principal or that first or second year teacher that feels like they have to show up for the school, but they don't really feel like they're showing up with all of themselves? Can you talk to me about a step-by-step process that you would use to getting them to showing up and doing that self-reflective work?
Absolutely. First, we'll go with first year principals because I remember that year so vividly.
Yeah.
There was work done prior to. So in my master's program, we did an activity called a journey line, and it took us from the highs and lows of our life that brought us to that master's program in educational leadership. Okay. So we did the background work.
I like that.
So that when we showed up on the campus, when they gave us the keys to the door, you already knew who you were going in. And so as a new leader, if you don't know who you are going in, you're going to struggle. And that doesn't mean that you can't pause and figure that out. And if you are a new leader and you haven't done that work, I would suggest you find a coach, a mentor, somebody who can help you do that deep work within yourself. And it's more than just self-reflection. It's more than just your why. Like we always hear with educators, remember your why. It's bigger than your why, right? Exactly. But once you've done that work and you are comfortable, and I share this with women that I mentor all the time, if you can't sit in a room in silence by yourself, you have some work to do, right? And so as a new leader, I need to be comfortable sitting in the room in silence by myself and being okay with my thoughts, being okay with the silence, right? Being able to block out the noise because the noise is coming, right? And just understanding truly who you are. Then you can move forward with leading people to be their authentic selves. And so what that looks like is, again, having those conversations that need to be had. I need to have the courage to be able to speak to you in a way that's going to inspire you or motivate you to do your job well, right? I can only set the tone for you and for the campus if I've done that work myself.
That is so powerful because I don't honestly remember the last time that I sat in silence by myself. And I used to do it so often, and I think I stopped because of the things that you will hear. Yes. And you know all of the lies that you tell yourself, or you recognize the work that you have to do, or you start seeing the gaps. How can we as educators or as leaders or as change makers, once we start hearing all of the noise, how do we compartmentalize it and start to focus it to do this hard work?
So again, sitting in that silence, if you do it enough, you learn to understand what's real and what's not real, right? And sometimes the noise that we tell ourselves is not real. But how do you know that unless you're sitting and listening to yourself, right? And so understanding what's valid, what's not valid. What are your values? Like, who are you at your core? And do those values, can people see those values in your conversation? Can they see those values in your interactions? And if they can't, then you have to go back and you've got to do some more work. And I will tell you, like, I didn't get there overnight. This truly was a process, because when I, as a first year principal, I was so excited to have the keys to the building. I just went in thinking, okay, we're just going to fix all these things. So I had a few come to Jesus moments myself, because I wasn't showing up authentically. I was showing up in who I thought people wanted me to be. But it was after conversations. I was fortunate enough to have a leadership coach my first 3 years. And she knew me like the back of my hand. And so having that coach helped me to really understand who I was and how I was showing up and what pivots I needed to make in order to reach my staff, in order to reach students, in order to reach the community. So really it's not just a pedagogy and learning what it takes to run a school. It's really that deep work on yourself, because you're leading people, you're leading communities of 500 plus. And you have to be able to show up in a way that people are going to trust you, believe in you, and be willing to go to the ends of the earth with you to make sure that students are learning.
I agree. You know, Lisa, you're very passionate about leadership development and specifically growing principals. What is one of the biggest gaps that you're seeing now in how schools prepare leaders, or how they lack to prepare leaders?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. So what I see now when I go in, people are becoming leaders for the title. To say, oh, I'm the principal of school X, right? They're not understanding all that comes with that. Yes, you have the title. Yes, you have the keys to the building, but there's work to be done. Exactly. And there's so much work to be done. And what I'm also noticing with some of our new leaders, they don't understand fully what that work is. Part of it is because they weren't teachers for a length of time. Like they may have taught 3 years and they think that, oh, I know how to do this. You have those rare occasions where there is that star student that is able to do that. But really and truly, to lead schools and lead them well and understand all the nuances that come with that, you had to have spent some time in the classroom understanding how to build relationships with those students, how to work alongside teammates that you may or may not agree with, but the outcome for student success is the same. Like those are things you learn as you teach in a classroom with people. And I think today, a lot of our leaders, they just don't have that.
Oh, I agree. And being someone that has recruited and trained and hired leaders, or we've transitioned some leaders out, I think that, or even I'm going to back up with what I just said. We haven't hired and trained leaders or moved leaders out. We've hired and trained titles and moved them out.
Absolutely.
My question, though, is how do you go about building capacity on campus so that leaders, real leaders, aren't just managing and staying under their titles, but leading schools forward to have the systems, the process and the personnel that can really be able to create a successful school?
A real leader is not going to do anything by themselves. You have 5 people on this side and 5 people on this side, and you're bringing everybody to the table. You give people voice. You allow people to see how to build a system. You let them see all the ins and outs of what it takes to get to where you are, right? You can't be afraid that they're going to see that your schedule is chaotic and that you've had to move things around. Like people need to see that. That's that transparency. That's that authenticity, right? As a leader. And so one of the things I feel like I've done well over the years is to bring those people along. Like I built capacity. I was a principal on 3 different campuses in 3 different districts, and I built capacity at every single campus. And when I say I built capacity, that means I brought teachers, I brought leaders, coaches. Y'all are right here. We're neck and neck, right? Whatever I think, you're thinking, or vice versa. And we were able to bounce ideas off of each other. I didn't gatekeep as a school leader. I shared all the things, because I wanted the people that I was bringing along with me, I wanted them to understand what true leadership is. And I've seen the transformation of classroom teachers that I was on the verge of letting go because they just couldn't figure it out, to watching them grow, not only as a teacher leader in their classroom, but as a teacher leader across the campus with their colleagues, and then to a school leader, and then even to a more formal leadership title. And some of them now, they have their own schools, but you have to teach them, just like in the classroom. I just did a workshop on classroom management and how you have to teach, rehearse, reinforce, right? Those are the basics, right? As a school leader, you're doing the same thing. I have to teach you, I have to practice it with you or allow you to practice. And that means I have to let go of some of my power to allow you to experience some of these things in that leadership role. And then I'm going to reinforce that, because now I'm going to give you opportunities to lead on campus. Again, I had great mentors when I my last class that I taught was 6th grade. And I remember my principal came in and she's like, Lisa, what is it that you want to do? And I said, eventually I want to be a principal. I have like a 10-year plan. Yeah. She pulled me out of the classroom the next year. And she gave me leadership opportunities. And I was like, wait, this is not part of right. But she gave me so many opportunities to lead and grow and learn right alongside her. And so now I pay it forward, and I did the same thing. I'm going to give you those opportunities to lead and show you what that looks like and sounds like.
I talked to a mentor of mine earlier today. He leads a school out of Connecticut. And he was explaining to me, as teachers are preparing to come back, I believe he said August 25th, and he's preparing them to run their full staff development and professional development. Mm-hmm. And not just that week that they come back, but also throughout the year. He said, we're trying to have an autonomous staff development and staff leadership model where we as administrators and leaders are facilitating, but it's a more staff ran school. Yes. And I've been in schools before where we preach student-led classrooms and facilitation and student-led conversations. However, if that principal's gone for the day, it feels chaotic. Can you talk to us about how schools can balance strong systems but balance that need for teacher autonomy as well?
Absolutely. It's exactly the example that you said. As the leader, I'm the facilitator, right? I've done all the pre-planning in the background. So I'm showing you what it's going to look like. And I'm just monitoring the progress because I've put things in place. I've talked to you about what it should look like and sound like. I've given you an opportunity to see it. Going back to teach, rehearse, and reinforce. I've taught you what it looks like. Now I'm going to see you practice it. We're going to practice it together. So you're not just leading your classroom, you're now leading your team. And now that you've successfully led your team, now I'm going to give you an opportunity to lead in the school. And so because I've put those systems in place and allowed you to see that and explain it, now I can sit back as the facilitator and watch you do your magic. And you just keep doing that as teachers are ready. That's the other thing, is recognizing who's ready and who's not. I might see you and think, yes, she's ready to go or he's ready to go, but you haven't figured out yourself that you're ready to go. So I'm not going to force you. I'm going to give you that room and space to grow, knowing that when you're ready, I'm ready. When you're ready to grow, we'll move forward.
How do you know that, from a leadership perspective, how do you know that someone you're coaching or training, how do you know that when they're ready? Even if they feel that imposter syndrome, even if they feel like they're not all the way ready, how do you know though that they're ready to lead?
You watch what they do and what they say. You watch their interactions. You see the results, right? Because leadership is also about results. We can talk a good game, but can you really produce the data to show what needs to be done? Exactly. And so I look at how teachers run their classrooms. How much autonomy are they giving their students? Are they the sage on the stage, as we call it, or are they really facilitators in their classrooms? How do they interact with other staff members? Are they cross-collaborating, not just in their grade level, but across the school? Are they on different committees, and how do they interact on those committees? What's their parent communication like? Are they showing up for different school functions? Like, all of those things show me and tell me if someone is ready to step into that leadership role.
That's good, Lisa. That's good. You also talk about emphasizing this creation or the ability to have sustainable school-wide systems, but especially, like you mentioned earlier, for behavior and classroom management. What is one mistake schools or even teachers often make in this area?
They come in with preconceived ideas about the students. To me, that's the biggest mistake, right? Cool. Because you're listening, again, going back to the noise, you're listening to the noise. You're not taking the time to understand for yourself who this child is. Again, I'll go back to my first year as a principal. The school that I inherited, it was not one of the favorite schools, let's just say. And there was a lot of noise about what was going on at the school and how, it was just going to be a lot of work. And it was a lot of work, but I went in listening. I listened to parents. What do you want? What has happened? What do you need? I listened to staff. What do you need as a staff to feel like this is your community? I listen to students. Students will tell you exactly what they need.
They will be honest.
Brutally honest, right? And so taking the time to really listen to people, and then not just listen and say, okay, I talked to them and we're good. No, I've listened. Here's what they said. Now, how do we put an action plan to this? How do we start checking these boxes off and making sure this is the school that the community really wants? And so that first year was a lot of listening, a lot of learning, again, about myself, about the staff, about the community. But when I tell you 5 years later, it was not the same campus that it was. And I would say even within the first 2 years, when my coach would come back, she would say, Lisa, it feels different when you walk onto the campus. And so you need that outside perspective to let you know that you're headed in the right direction or you need to pivot. But it's really about listening.
I love what you said that within this first year, it was about listening. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I made coming into a school as a new leader is I came in and I knew all of the problems because I was associated with the school and I knew all of the areas of opportunity, but I wanted to go full steam ahead and just start implementing. And towards the end of the school, then I began to listen. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have done this completely differently.
Yep.
And I think as leaders, we get so excited to do the work that we don't take time understanding what the real issues are and what people really care about. And a mentor told me once, he said, before you go about tearing down a wall, you have to first ask why it was built.
Absolutely.
You talked earlier about the importance of teaching, rehearsing, and reinforcing to be able to manage some of these classroom, what I call communications, not just behaviors, and what students are communicating. What role, though, does consistency in both behavior management and academic achievement, how does consistency play in both of those roles?
Consistency is the key. I literally just shared that with a couple teachers this week in their debrief. I asked them, how have the first couple weeks of school been? And they said, it's going okay. And I said, how consistent have you been?
That's a great question.
And they were like, well, in the first, second, and third periods, it was great. But then by fifth period, and I said, is that real consistency? Mm-hmm. And I said, let's talk about where the breakdown happened. And so consistency, kids know, they're watching, they're waiting for you not to be consistent. But the same with your staff as a school leader. The teachers are watching you to see how consistent you are going to be as a leader. So it doesn't change as a leader, from a teacher to a leader, you just have a bigger audience. So consistency is important, but you have to keep doing the same things. It's kind of like dating. And when you get married and they say the same things that you did to get her are the same things you need to do to keep her. It's the same thing in education. And we have to take a step back and realize, like doing that mental audit, was I consistent with this? And if you weren't, okay, let me go back and regroup. And that's where authenticity comes in. That's where transparency comes in. That's where communication comes in, because you have to be willing to say, you know what, Kyle, I was not consistent in my communication with you. And I apologize for that. But going forward, I want you to help me be consistent as your leader. Call me out when you see me not being consistent with X, Y, and Z. There's a lot of principals that are not going to have that conversation with their staff.
Oh, no, I agree. And consistency is super important, and being willing to have the tough conversations. And I think it's important to have it earlier than later. Especially important to have it within that first 10 days. And your new book focuses on classroom management in the first 10 days. Why are these and those first 10 days so critical to the school year's success?
The first 10 days will make or break a teacher. It just will, because you're excited. Teachers come in, they're excited. It's new, it's fresh. But then you haven't thought about, well, what am I going to do? Like, the room is pretty, but what are you actually going to do? And what are your expectations of these students that are coming in? And so I encourage teachers, just like you're creating a lesson plan for reading, you need a lesson plan for routines. Because if you don't create the routine and give them the expectation for your classroom, they're going to come in with their own. Because they've been in school. They know what it looks like, right? And they know when it's going well and they know when it's not. And so if you show up on day one and you don't have those expectations ready, you don't have those routines in place, they will create their own. And as a teacher, you will find yourself conforming to 5 different routines because you have 5 different kids that have taken the lead. And so one of the things I do share with new teachers, I'm like, you're the king or queen of your castle. And I don't know a king or queen that has been dethroned yet. And let you not be the first one. So be the king or the queen of your castle, set those expectations, and make sure that you are consistent with implementing them and holding students accountable. That it's critical to make sure that happens.
I love how you said that just like we have lesson plans for reading, we need lesson plans for routines. And I don't think I've ever heard that from that perspective before. And I think my first few days as a new teacher, when I was teaching, I had it figured out curriculum wise. But once them kids and once them jokers came into the classroom, the pacing guide went out of the window.
Out the door.
And I think it's important to set those, and I think it's probably more important to set the routines and systems and processes, because then it creates a learning environment that allows students to receive the education that they're there to receive.
Absolutely. And even if you've created the routines and you see that it's not working, like watch. We're going back to listening, right? You're listening and you're watching to see if it's working. And it may not work, but that's okay, because now you can get buy-in from the student. Exactly. You know, like, this is what I had planned. This is not working for us. What can we do to make this work better? When students have a voice, and again, you're teaching them along the way, because student voice will carry throughout the year. But you're teaching them how to have student voice early on by participating. And even when you're talking about modeling those expectations, rehearsing those routines, they should be the ones rehearsing, not you. You already know what to do. Like, put it back on them. Teach them how to think for themselves and how to interact with each other, because you're going to need that. If you put them in a reading group together, you want them to be able to read and interact with each other. That starts with the routines. Like, teach them how to do that first and then release them into the content. And that, I feel like that's where we get it wrong. And pushing the curriculum and the content, that's going to come. But if you haven't established how your class should run, you won't even be able to teach reading on week 4.
Oh, no, I agree. It's first 10 days of school. Somewhere it's first 10 days of school. What are 1 or 2 strategies that you would want teachers that are listening in right now to have in their toolkit?
The first thing is a lesson plan for your routines. Like, I need you to script it out. And what are you going to say? How are you going to teach it? The second thing is you need to reflect on what that day looked like. Like, you need, at the end of the day, what went well, what didn't go well. Can Johnny sit next to Susie, or do you need to move him and put him by Mary? Like, you're paying attention to all the things. So lesson plans would be number 1. A script would be number 2, and you can put that in the lesson plan. 3, I think you need to have in that toolkit, you need to have, and this is not anything tangible, but you have to be willing to be flexible, be willing to pivot, because the schedule is going to change, right? You plan for 25 kids and 5 more enrolled, and they're all coming to your classroom.
Exactly.
And now you have to rearrange your whole classroom. So be willing to be flexible. Those are probably my top 3 things that I would say. And 4 would be resilient. Like, you have to be willing to, like, if you hit a brick wall, all right, we're good, but we coming back tomorrow. And come back with that same level of enthusiasm that you had on day 1.
Exactly. If you could change one thing in how schools approach leadership or systems tomorrow, what would it be?
Oh, that's a big one. I think, especially what I see now, I would want leaders. I need you to go spend some more time in a classroom. I want you to go into the best classroom, and I want you to go into a more challenging classroom. And I want you to just observe what you see and don't see.
Now, you have a toolkit that educators use. Can you talk to me about your toolkit and some of the feedback that educators have said using your toolkit?
Absolutely. So the toolkit is very simple. It's 24 pages. There are 10 basic routines in there. I consider them the most important routines. And I wanted it to be practical. And so I've included the script for them. Well, let's go back. I've included the objective, right? And what the routine is. I've included the script because I want teachers to just be able to pick it up and use it. You can tweak the language if you want, but I've given you the script of what you need to say generally. I've given you the steps because there are steps to teaching it, right? We're going back to teach, rehearse, reinforce. I've given you the model and practice notes. Like, this is how you're going to model this. This is how your students are going to practice. And then I've included a student reflection prompt because it's not just about you. It's also about the students. Are they internalizing it? And so there's some prompts in there for students to reflect. And then towards the end, and so we're talking about consistency, right? It's the same for all 10 routines. Nothing changes. It's the same for all 10. And then at the end, there's a reflection for the teacher, and there's some note pages because I'm old school, paper, pencil. I need you to write it down and make notes. But the reflection is important for the students because you want them to internalize it. The reflection is important for the teacher because after you've taught each one, what are the tweaks that you need to make? What's working, what's not working? And that's it, like in a nutshell. It's simple, practical. It came out of me working with new teachers and them wanting something. Like I did a workshop back in May on classroom management versus discipline, right? And we talked about Harry Wong. Like, I will forever love Harry Wong. But his book, it's a lot. It's a lot of information in that book. It's a valuable book. I encourage every educator to get it. But you don't have time to sit down and read through the whole book and go do the work. And so the toolkit came out of that, knowing that teachers just need something in their hands that they can use today, not 6 weeks after you've done a book study. You can use this tomorrow.
Now, where can teachers that are listening in and our audience listening in, where can they get a copy, or our school leaders that are listening, where can they get bulk copies for all of their teachers, and where can they connect with you as well?
So on my website, so my business is iLead Education Services. And so if you go to iLeadEducationServices.com, the toolkit is available online. It's available in the ebook version or printed version. If a school leader is wanting it for their whole staff, I would recommend the printed version and to reach out to me directly because we can talk about discounts. And some coaching that comes along with that if they order a book for their entire staff.
For principals or teachers that are listening, what is one piece of advice that you would give them to start their school year off strong?
One piece of advice would be show up as yourself. Show up as your authentic self. Who are you? And show up as that person every day. Regardless of what happens, show up authentically as you.
And remind us why it's important for that educator, that leader, that change maker to show up as themselves every day.
Because it's important, because you're there to make an impact. You're there to make a difference. And people will trust you and be willing to go to the ends of the earth with you if you show up authentically. And if you're there for a bigger purpose, that's how you get them to get on board. It just show up as you. I tell people it's too hard to show up as somebody else, somebody other than Lisa. Like, I can only be Lisa, the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm showing up as Lisa. We'll work out the kinks, but you're gonna get me authentically every single time, and that's important.
How can we support the work that you're doing? Like, you've given me so much value today, and I wish I was still in the classroom, because I would have been like calling you every single week and guiding me through these challenges, especially now in education. How can we support your work, promote your work, and just continue to shower you with the success that you deserve as well?
I appreciate that support. Social media, I lead education services, Facebook, Instagram. Follow me, like, share my posts, give me comments. I welcome feedback. Even now, like, give me, Lisa, you probably shouldn't have did that. But just, interact with me on social media, my website, just reach out. Like, I'm that person. I don't mind having a conversation with you if it's going to help you become a better educator.
That's cool.
Right? It's just about helping people and paying it forward. And because I had the privilege of people pouring into me, my job now is to pour into others and just pay it forward. And so if people have questions, about what's happening, if they just need a couple of tips, like, just reach out and say, hey, Lisa, can we just have a quick conversation?
I love that. And I appreciate your heart and continuing to show up for educators and leaders. I appreciate the passion, as well as your commitment to ensuring that not only teachers and leaders have what they need, but ultimately students have what they need. Your work that you're doing is phenomenal, and we appreciate you even coming on and sharing some time with us today. Any of my listeners right now, anywhere, wherever you are in the world, I want you to like, subscribe, and share this specific episode. I want you to now, before you even do that, I want you to go follow Miss Lisa on all of her platforms. I want you to buy 10 of her books, and then 10 more people to invite 10 more people to buy 10 of her books. All right. I want to thank you for joining us on another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. My name is Kyle King. I'm your host. And before you finish this week, I want you to ask yourself this one question. What kind of culture am I spreading? Culture is everywhere. Make yours worth catching. We'll see you all next episode.